Okay, so I decided to do a speech about driverless cars, as you can clearly see behind me. I chose driverless cars because that seems to be the new thing. It seems to be populating all over the place. Everyone likes the idea, they want to go into it. So they should not. I always thought that they shouldn't be illegal because they can be dangerous and it isn't practical. They are very dangerous if for some reason you put it in the driverless mode and they don't follow the rules of the law and the software that they might have in it is outdated or there's some problem with it, a malfunction, anything like that. That's part of why it's dangerous and it isn't practical because when you're driving a car, you are aware of everything around you and how you can avoid certain situations, but when you're in a driverless car where you can't do that, it's not exactly a safe way to travel. It's not a safe way to travel, and I don't think that that's how anyone's supposed to get around due to the fact that you can get into accidents. Okay, so we're going to talk about dangerousness of it. There's a lot of accidents. This specific website said two different accidents that happened with driverless vehicles. One of them was the fact that it's written by Tanya Moan, and it's a Uber car, I think. It's an Uber car, not sure, but it was like a taxi kind of service. And they had a driverless car, and they killed a pedestrian because they didn't have control of the car, so the car just slammed into a pedestrian while she was walking across the road. Some dangers of driverless cars is, again, this is an example. Despite 2 fatal accidents involving semi-autonomous cars occurring within days of each other in March, testing of the technology continues. So they still want to make a driverless vehicle a more popular thing, get everyone hooked on it, that way you don't have to drive yourself. An Uber vehicle with a safety driver struck and killed a pedestrian in Tempe, Arizona on March 18th. The other one I was talking about was March 15th of the next year. Uber quickly suspended all testing of its autonomous fleet while it investigates the cause of the crash. On March 23rd, the driver of a Tesla in an autonomous mode died when the vehicle crashed into a highway median in Mountain View, California. Tesla has not suspended the feature in its vehicles while the company and NHTSA investigate the causes of that crash. Even with these crashes and these things, they're not removing that feature. They're not letting that go. Next is practicality. This was a study that they did when this first came out, driverless cars first came out. And this article said, after adjusting for underreporting of accidents, researchers Brandon Schodel and Michael Sivak found that autonomous vehicles got into more crashes overall, 9.1 crashes per million miles driven, compared with a 4.1 crash per million miles for conventional vehicles. AVs had a higher rate of injury per crash, 0.36 injuries per crash compared with a 0.25 for conventional vehicles. AVs weren't responsible for any of the crashes that they were involved in. Most AV crashes were low speed, and the ones involving injury were minor compared with the injuries sustained during the conventional vehicle. So it's just showing, these are more statistics showing that having a autonomous vehicle is actually more harmful to humans than it is when you are the one driving it, because you can avoid certain situations, you can swerve at the last second, but if you're in a vehicle that doesn't know how to do that, just by the law, there are some times where the law isn't really part of it. So I think that that's another reason why it shouldn't be a driverless vehicle society. Like I said, you will not have control of your car, which in turn will not allow you to do anything when you reach certain situations. Swerving, maybe you stopped too late, or parking, anything really. So what you can do to avoid that, just don't buy a driverless car. If you buy a driverless car, it's not going to help you, but that much, I mean, it'll help, but you have to use it really in moderation. And if you're going straight, like you're on a highway and there's really no one there, you can use autonomous vehicles and you can let that fly. But if there's full of traffic, there's everything that isn't really ideal for a driverless car, I think that a conventional car is much better. You have to use, you have to have like all of your, okay, so you have to weigh all of your pros and cons when you're deciding to buy any driverless car. The only one that actually came out as a driverless car was a Tesla, so you have to weigh basically all of your pros and cons, what are the good reasons for having a driverless car and what are the bad reasons for having a driverless car. The safest way, just go back to driving the conventional mode with someone sitting in the driver's seat and driving. So overall, driverless vehicles do in fact have an issue with practicality and dangerousness, but you can also, if you want, be happily getting a driverless car. You can happily drive that, let it drive itself, but those are only ideal in certain situations. When buying a driverless car or using a driverless car, just be aware of the risks this might bring to your body.